What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls commentary. Alright guys, this is part 2 of my random invasions video. We had a lot of good action in part 1, probably about 20 matches or so. Right, so we're going to see, can we get close to that, if not match it. Alright, so we got another mage build right there, and that particular dark sorcery is really dangerous when you're up close to your opponent. Right now, when you're out at a further distance, it's not really that bad because the beads are not concentrated, right? You might get hit by maybe 1 or 2 beads, but to the extent that you are very close upon your opponent, you'll get basically hit by all of the beads. It's almost similar to the Homing Crystal Soul Mass, right? One of those little crystals doesn't really do anything, but when you get hit by all 5, in a lot of cases, it can reduce like up to like, I don't know, I think I've seen like 1,200 in probably worst case scenario based upon your armor, but it can definitely drain all of your vitality. Right, like I just drained all of his. What's up, dude? Alright, so we're back at it. Alright, so he's trying to hit me off with the bleed effect. And I can't really tell if he has the blood shield. And actually he's using a crest shield. I mean, which is decent, but at the same time, to the extent that you're hitting off a lot of attacks with that weapon, you basically have to watch your own blood meter. Which is why, in a lot of cases, a lot of people use that particular weapon along with the blood shield, right? Because the blood shield reduces bleeding accumulation. Alright. PvP in the Township. Just kind of knock out some of these enemies. And here we have good old, well, some kind of movie guy. So let's see what he's going to bring to the table. Alright, oh, actually, it looks like it's the same person that I just fought. And actually, it is. Alright, so he's trying to spam the R1 button, which doesn't work. Well, it works sometimes. I can't really say that. Because actually, if it didn't work for him, he probably wouldn't do it. Right. Alright, so he's trying to pop me off with the dark magic. To no avail. These guys never learn, do they? They never learn. Alright. So we're back at it. And actually, these are the 2 armored sets that I've been wearing the most, right? I've been rocking the Elite Knight set. And basically, I've been rocking this set. And good old shout out to Brazen Coin. I actually stole the idea from him. When I PvP'd against him, you know, I'm kind of like, wow, that dude's got a groovy looking character. Right? So I kind of bit his style with regard to the armor that he put together. That's a cool looking build in my personal opinion. Alright, so he's got his little fire resin. I guess he intends to buff that weapon that he's using. But, you know. And I can tell this guy is probably a new player. See that? Now notice what I'm doing. He's circling. I'm just circling in the same direction so that he cannot break the shoulder. Well, he caught me with a backstab in that instance, but who cares, right? He didn't really do that much damage. Parry attempt, even though it was a failed one. Couldn't get off with my parry attempt. He's not really doing anything. Okay. Throwing off kicks. This guy's kind of everywhere. So one of us needs to end the match, right? Because it's kind of dull. And actually, he just might end it while I'm sitting here talking about dull. right? Because he's pretty much got my vitality down, but not far enough. Right? Alright. Liberty Prime. Okay, hotshot. Let's see what you have to offer. Okay, now if you notice, he got his high-speed blood shield. Right, so he doesn't really have to worry about bleed accumulation with that weapon. And that's the only downside to that particular weapon. I mean, it's definitely good with regard to inflicting damage and the bleed accumulation. But the downside is you can also harm yourself by taking a 30% vitality reduction. Right, if you're not watching your meter. Keeping a close eye out. Alright. And we have him again. Liberty Prime. And I think this guy invaded me a number of times, if I can remember correctly. Now let's just see if I can parry him a second time. Alright, now that particular attack, you know, I used to be intimidated by that attack in the past, but I have finally learned the, well, I can't say finally, I've learned it not too long ago, but I've definitely learned the timings to that, you know, kind of run in and wild swinging R1 attack. So you guys really do not have to be intimidated, and I would say by perhaps 90% of these attacks, right? Because once you guys learn to parry, PvP just really gets a lot easier, right? And I think anyone who's pretty decent at parrying can validate that point. It definitely gets a lot easier. Alright, give him a little back action. Alright, so this guy, let's see, might be at a pretty high level. Let's see him roll. If I see him doing a fast roll, then that means this guy's pretty much at a high level, right? Because number one, he's got the Great Sword of Artorias. He's also rocking the Havel Shield, for which you need at least 50 strength. I popped him off with 2 critical attacks, and he's still walking around trying to tighten me up. So he's probably at a high level. Let's see how many souls do I win after. Well, actually, don't want to get arrogant, because actually he might tighten me up. If you notice, he's trying to hit me off with the backstab, but because I am circling, he could not break the shoulder. And actually, I didn't get a chance to see how many souls I won. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, now if you notice, this guy's doing the same old roll in R1 attack. One of the most easiest. See, when I notice these guys with these rolling R1 attacks, is like a instant parry. Right? It's almost instant parry every time. So this is why you should kind of switch it up sometimes, right? Sometimes you want to roll an attack. Perhaps other times you want to roll past, you know, pause rather, and then attack. Or maybe you just want to roll just to throw your opponent off. But in most cases, I pop guys off with those parries, because that rolling R1 attack is pretty common. Alright, so this guy's trying to get me off with the, well, he's not really hitting me off with anything now. Okay, so we have, I haven't seen one of these guys in a long time. Funny thing about it is, now that they have nerfed the Darkwood Grain Ring, I really don't see a lot of these guys a lot. Right? So shout out to the good old giant armor wearing, mask of the mother, you know, face having opponent that I've got going on. It looks like he's rocking a short sword or something. Right? Either a short sword or a long sword. Can't really tell, but I'm pretty sure by looking at the swing set, the move set of the weapon. but he's fast rolling. Right, so now that they have nerfed the Darkwood Grain Ring, we might have to find a new way to reference these guys. You know, in the past we called these guys with their, Mask of the Mother, giant ninja flipping wearing selves. We used to call them housewives, right? But, once the DLC has been introduced to the consoles, we might have to think up a new name for these dudes. Or hopefully, it will be the end of the housewives. Right? Because now that they don't have their little ridiculous ninja ring that so many of them were dependent upon, what will they do? Right? Which brings me to another point. The funny thing about it is, a few weeks prior to the release of the PC version, I released a series of videos featuring fast rolling PvP. Right? And some of the fight clubs that I would participate in, shout out to good old Hell Servant. I know he, good old Lance for Life, and a few others, they would have fight clubs where they're like, look dude, no Darkwood Grain Ring. We're kind of sick of it. Right? And some of the participants, it would be funny when you notice the fit they would throw. Some of them would say like, holy crap dude, what do you mean no Darkwood? In other words, it was kind of like, no Darkwood Grain Ring, they're basically crippled. Right? So it's really going to be funny to see how the face of PvP changes on the console version. As a matter of fact, with a lot of you guys being aware of the Darkwood Grain Ring nerf, I hope you guys are out there practicing with your fast or medium rolls, right? Or maybe even fat boy rolling, right? Shout out to all the fat rollers. Because, actually, I had practice at it anyway, right? Shout out to good old EABM. I had a battle of the builds against him. Actually, I can't remember if it was battle of the builds or was it just a rumble in the jungle where we fought each other. But I actually got my idea from good old EABM, right? Because I noticed him fast rolling with some of the heaviest armor, and I said, hold on, as much as I like that black iron set, I can still rock it and have fast mobility. Right, so I've been getting a lot of practice with the fast rolling prior to the release of the PC version. Right, so I can imagine how much, some of these guys are going to have the perception of, I'm basically crippled now. What can I do? Right, either that or they are going to sacrifice poise for the ninja flip, for which I think is a good thing, right? Because in order for you to have those, what they call invincibility frames and the ninja flip, you need to sacrifice something, right? And the way that the game is on the consoles right now, there's no sacrifice. You can basically have 50% weight load, anything under 50%, ninja flip, full armor, full everything. Right, so that's why you will see guys with the full Havels, full Giants, full, black iron, rocking the ninja flip. And it was annoying, because it's like, come on, dude, how is a tank flipping like a ninja? Right, it just really looked awkward. So I am so glad that they nerfed it. I am definitely glad. Now I think, as I've mentioned in the past, that the game is a lot more balanced, and I also think is a lot more realistic, right? Because in other words, if you want to be a fast rolling black armor guy, you need to sacrifice, right? You shouldn't have the benefit of fast rolling, high defense, high poise, and maximum effectiveness of plus 15 weapons. No, it should be a sacrifice. Because in other words, I still have my black iron fast rolling build on the PC edition, right? And what am I sacrificing? Well, what I'm sacrificing is the strength of plus 15 weapons, because of course that build has to use elemental weapons, which according to what I've heard have been nerfed. Now, to the extent that I've been using the elemental weapons, I really haven't noticed that much of a difference in PvP. Now, PvE, I have definitely noticed a difference. But PvP, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. I don't know if it's that I'm not really paying that much attention or what, but I definitely know that when you're fighting bosses, I mean, you're really not doing that much damage, right? Because if you guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I fought, and actually this was my first playthrough of the PC edition. I fought good old Manus, Father of the Abyss, at level 54 with a +5 lightning weapon. That thing only did just over 100 something damage, right? Which, before on the consoles, a +5 lightning weapon, you know, unless you're fighting small Nornstein, basically inflicted pretty good damage, right? So I guess it's a good thing that they nerfed it. Now, I'm not really sure if they nerfed it in PvP, right? So I do know they nerfed it in PvE. So I don't know, maybe some of you hotshot fact checkers out there can kind of do a test comparing. Now, let me take that back. I did check the numbers of a chaos weapon, right, which used to have numbers in the 6s, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I don't know. Actually, I'm not going to talk any more about that. Maybe I'll just kind of do a comparison sometime in the future. Right? I really don't want to talk about a lot of two things that have yet to been actually proven. Right? Because you get a lot of guys who will say things mainly because they heard other people say it. Right? Or they'll just parrot something that, you know, maybe they've read on the forums or heard someone on the streams or whatever the case may be. They're just a parrot, but have they really tested it themselves? No, not in most cases, right? Case in point, I remember I had a conversation with a guy on a Twitch because he was basically saying how overpowered the pursuers were and the other dark magics were. And my thing is, I'm like, dude, it's a sorcery. It's not overpowered. Just use a great magic barrier or your vow of silence or your crest shield. And, you know, they just start basically parroting information that they've heard from other people. You know, basically saying, no, it can't. It's a physical, you know, it inflicts physical damage, therefore it does. I'm like, dude, I tested it. You know, so that's kind of one of the downsides to being a parrot of things that you hear, or perhaps things that you've read, but have not necessarily tested it yourself. Right, so we basically like to test things in the game. All right. Tighten them up a little bit. Back at it at the good old Township. Alright, so this person's got the bleed weapon, and if you guys notice, I did the counter circle. Right, so when you guys see someone kind of circling you from a certain area, one good tactic, either you can retreat, right, or you can just basically pull back on your control and counter circle them. It works all the time. Right? And despite the fact that some people may accuse you of BS fishing or not, the fact is, you know the tactics that you're using. You're countering things that you see. Right? Because I have definitely enough videos for people to see how I play. I incorporate all of the attack styles, all the strategies, both offensive and defensive. Parries, R1 attacks, R2 attacks, jump attacks. I try to do the whole 9. Alright, so I guess he refreshed his vitality and he's back at it, but since he wants to run away, guess what, dude? I can run away too. Right? So you know, kind of make me wait. I'm going to make you wait, dude. Alright, so let me try to pop him off with a couple poison arrows. Alright, but he does have the blood shield, so even if I did, the accumulation won't really be significant. Right? Okay, so he's R1 spamming. And I'll kind of back up because that weapon can accumulate bleed pretty quickly, as I'm pretty sure a lot of you know. Alright. So he's not really doing too much, and I really have to be careful because once he closes the distance, he starts spamming that R1. And I don't think I really want to take a chance because that bleed accumulation on that weapon is pretty quick. Alright, come on, dude. Come on. trying to run off again, so let me try to pop him off with an arrow. Alright, got him with one. Now I just need to finish the deal. Alright. Ciao. Alright, so I hope you guys basically enjoyed the two-part series. In addition to the other uploads that we have for this Saturday. Right? And I really hope that the rate of invasion increases. Right? For all you guys that are basically new to the PC edition. You know, just go ahead and play online. You don't have to be afraid. Right? It's only a loss. Right? And as a matter of fact, you see, notice this guy. Look what he's doing. That constant circle. Constant circle. Come on, dude. If you want to go in for a BS, at least make it a little less obvious. Right? Make it a little less obvious. Alright. So we have more dark magics going on. Okay, but I have the crest shield, so it wasn't that bad. Okay, and we have a turtle. Come on, dude. And actually, I kind of made the mistake of allowing that person to have a little room, because that's why she was able to pop off her little casting. So, man, you guys noticed a little difference because I have a good old crest shield. And I tried to use my silver pendant, but it wasn't fast enough. Well, guys, this is the end of the two-part series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to good old Jerp Does Games. I bought him a second time, but you know, it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Right, so stay tuned for the next series of uploads. Martyrs Brigade is